Alright, folks, as you guys know, it is the Democratic primary. I've been doing videos basically giving you updates on what's going on. Okay, the polling data, how's that going? Now we've got third quarter fundraising numbers for some candidates in, so that's also important to analyze and look at. Poll numbers are also having some shifts, so we need to take a look at that as well. So we've got quite a bit of things to look at. Bernie Sanders, recovering from his, what he got, the stents, in his heart or in his artery or whatever. So he's back, which is awesome. So he has had a absolutely amazing quarter three. Biden not so much, and it looks like Mayor Pete is kind of staying afloat with his previous, with the second quarter. So just really quickly before I jump into that, I want to let you guys know that I'm over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/theprogressivevoice. If you'd like to access premium content, patron-only, patron-exclusive content, go over there and become a patron. Just posted a video yesterday talking about what will Jimmy Dore do after Tulsi Gabbard drops out. Have same question about Nico House, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin content, more, Looney Nico content, some Sam Harris, David Pakman content. Make sure to go check that out if you have not checked it out already. Got some very, very good content over there. It's patreon.com/theprogressivevoice. Link to that in the description down below. So, here's what we got going on, okay? Bernie Sanders has announced that he's raised $25 million. Yes, that's $25 million in the third quarter, okay? Whereas Biden has only raised $15 million. So, he's really lagging behind, folks. Now, this article from CNBC says, former Vice President Joe Biden announced Thursday at a fundraiser in Palo Alto, California, that his campaign raised $15 million in the third quarter of this year for his bid to win the 2020 Democratic nomination for president, which places him behind Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. For primary candidates, these fundraising totals often represent how their campaigns are performing and their standing in the polls. It says Sanders has raised $25 million and Buttigieg raised $19.1 million in the last quarter, while Kamala Harris raised $11.6 million. Elizabeth Warren has not yet released her fundraising numbers. So, something also significant and weird is that Warren has not yet released her fundraising numbers, which is odd. I mean, if Bernie, Kamala, Biden, and Pete have all released their numbers, why is she taking so long? It's a bit suspicious. So, it says Biden raised $21.5 million the second quarter. So what that obviously means is that he's taken a very, very severe drop-off down into just $15 million. Also goes on here to say, in a press release, Biden's campaign said that 98% of their fundraising from the third quarter came from grassroots donors, with contributions equaling less than or equal to $200. They also noted that 56% of donors were new to the campaign. They did not, however, explain how much cash they have going into the pivotal fourth quarter. Says the question any campaign faces at this point is whether or not you have the resources to compete in early states and sustain your efforts beyond. Our campaign unequivocally does and builds on our strength each week. So, as you can see here, I was actually surprised when I saw that it said that 98% of their fundraising from the third quarter came from grassroots donors, with contributions equaling less than or equal to $200. So, I don't know what the average donation was. I think it was like $44 or something like that. So, what's interesting about this is what's most likely going on. The reason why, and this is my speculation about this, I haven't seen like the exact numbers. I don't think they're out yet. But I think that how he got, way more. How much did he get? $21.5 million last time around. He's only got $15 million now. What I'm suspecting is that a bunch of his donors have maxed out their donations to his campaign. So what I'm suspecting is that essentially, he's just simply running out of donors. As you guys know, he launched his campaign at a fundraiser with a Comcast executive, or maybe even the CEO it might have been. So what that tells me is that most likely it's just him just running out of donors because they've already maxed out their 2.7 G's that they can shell out to his campaign. So that's what it looks like to me. And the fact that Bernie has raised 25, wow, what an absolute G. What a G Bernie is. He's raising more than everybody else, and he's playing by a different set of rules. Just think about how dope that is. That's like when Gohan won SSJ2. Just absolutely amazing. Just unbelievable. You're talking about playing by a different set of rules and making far more money from people like me and you who are watching the video right now. I donated to his campaign. I'm sure you did as well. Hopefully you did. If you haven't, make sure to go donate to him, of course. This is just absolutely remarkable to me. And then Kamala Harris at 11.6. She's dropping off. The weird thing is Pete Buttigieg raised 19.1 million. I don't know who the morons are who are wasting their money on his campaign. They're stupid, obviously, but I guess they got money to blow. This is an interesting tweet that breaks down the numbers that I saw on Twitter. It says Sanders, quarter 2, 18 million. Quarter 3, 25.3 million, up 8 million. Biden, quarter 2, 21.5. Quarter 3, 15.2, down 6 million. Pete, quarter 2, 24.8 million. Quarter 3, 19.1 million, down 5 million. So what you can see here is, folks, is that quite clearly Bernie's, numbers here are going up. And even, Pete's numbers are going down. Now, Pete, he was making a ton of money from Obama's bundlers, where it's like, yo, Obama, I love you, bro. I'm going to go out to get all my rich buddies. We're all going to pull together our max 2.7s and donate to your campaign. That's what Pete was doing. There's news reports about it. Same thing with Kamala Harris. She was also benefiting from that. But his numbers are down. He's running out of donations. His campaign is, of course, totally done for. Biden, really going down as well. He's running out of donors. His campaign is also taking a dip, as we're going to see in a second here. Bernie, on the other hand, now he's on the up and up. That's what he's at. Harris is also down 500K, as it says down here. So that's down 500K, so she's down as well. Her campaign is completely over, by the way. So I'm not even sure why they're donating to her at this point. But as you can see, good news, folks. Bernie's going up. Virtually everyone else is going down. That is really, really good news. And also what you got to understand is there are recurring donations to Bernie. New people are donating to Bernie. And when you can make as much for a campaign as Bernie did without everyone maxing out, right? You get to keep it going, And so that's kind of the beauty of it as well. Is, I certainly haven't even gotten close to maxing out. So, I can keep donating to him because, I'm nowhere near the max. So he'll keep gaining and gaining steam more and more and more. So, with the conclusion of fundraising, what I want to now do is look at the polling data, all right? Because this is some truly remarkable stuff. I was looking at this just earlier, and I was looking at it like, wow. So, last time we were looking at this, right, we most notably noticed the absolute drop-off that was the Kamala Harris campaign. There were two things that contributed to this. Elizabeth Warren seemed to take some of her support at this point here. And then at this point, it seemed like Biden started to grow literally as she started to go down. So it's pretty clear the simultaneous shift. I mean, you can literally see it right here. Biden was going up just as she was going down. So Harris ate into his support, as you can see here. And then he took it back because she floundered. She is now below Mayor Pete. I still cannot believe. I've done multiple videos. I don't know if I did multiple. I did at least one video on this. And I still cannot even begin to fathom how low she is. She's lower than Mayor Pete, folks. She's not even top 4. She's top 5. So what that means is she is not a top-tier candidate, no matter how much she, begs you to believe that. Now, what is truly remarkable to me here is that Warren has now gotten the closest anybody's gotten to by far to Joe Biden. And she's clearly taking some of Biden's support. You can literally see it right here. So as you can see right here, right? He's at 30.2. She's at 19.8. She takes a small dip. Then boom, Biden starts going down. Look who starts going up, Warren. So as you can see here, it's clear. And literally right here is an exact, simultaneous shift. Warren takes right from Biden. So it looks like Warren is now eating into Biden's support, is what it looks like. And so she took a little bit from Harris, at this point right here. And then she is now taking Biden's support. Bernie has remained the same. He's virtually the same. You know what I'm saying? He's been sort of going through. He's been basically between like 16 and 18, almost 18. And he's just been staying consistent. He's by far the most consistent candidate in this race. So that's a way to look at it positively. Aside from the splash that was Biden's entrance into the election, after that point, he's been the most consistent candidate by far. He really doesn't deviate all that much. He's pretty much, he's been like between 16 and 18, forever now, ever since May. That's months ago. We're talking like 6-7 months ago. He's been at the same number. So the good news about that is, remember, folks, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I really want to, imprint that onto your brain. This is a marathon, not a sprint, folks. Just because if Bernie wins Ohio and New Hampshire, it doesn't mean he's going to win the election. He came in within 0.2 in Iowa, and he just absolutely, took New Hampshire like crazy by 22 points. Did he win the election? No. So remember, there's no winner-take-all states. It's all proportional. So you have to do well in every single state. It's got to be a 50-state strategy, which means you got to take it all the way home. So keep in mind, think about it this way. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So the fact that he's been consistent, you also got to keep in mind the fundraising that we've seen. If you look at the NYT donor map, he's all spread out all around, which is awesome. Also got to keep in mind these polls are extremely skewed towards older people and landlines and all this other kind of stuff. And so you got to keep that in mind as well. And so the fact that, Warren's starting to kind of boost up as Biden's starting to go down is kind of more evidence of the sort of polling being skewed. But what you also got to keep in mind is I have a feeling and I have a hunch that Warren will not stay up to this pace the whole time. Now, there's some goods of this and there's some bads of this. One of them is that the good thing is that Biden is losing because Warren is infinitely better than Biden, obviously, right? I would much rather take Elizabeth Warren than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's the worst option. But the other thing is Bernie's not currently in the lead. So then the question we have to ask is, well, what do we do as Bernie supporters to try to boost our candidate? To answer that question, I don't know. I have a hard time believing you're going to convince these Biden voters who are going to Warren to being Bernie supporters. I really do. And I'm also not even convinced that this is really sort of a tenable position for Warren. I mean, she's had by far like the craziest rise. She started it at the beginning at 5.8 and just continually rose to a really high point. But trust me, folks, I have a feeling, and I don't know this for sure, but I don't know how long she's going to hang on to this. But Biden is certainly dwindling, as we see with this polling data. He's down 26. This is the first time someone's been this close to him, okay? You're talking about a 2.2% gap, which is insanely small, okay? Insanely small. But this is nonetheless very remarkable. I think there are Biden voters who are switching over to Warren. They share very similar, their fans support very similar ideologies, have the same very similar ideologies. The resistance crowd, etc., etc. So, what do we do as Bernie supporters? I really don't know if there's anything we really can do, honestly. And just kind of have to see how this plays out. Obviously, continue advocacy for Bernie, continue donating, continue convincing people, especially, the older people that whether it's your dad or your granddad or whoever, your uncle, whatever, the older people, and obviously the young people too, everybody, but specifically the old people would be great if you're able to convince them. But, what's going down here, it's pretty remarkable, I'd say. Pretty darn remarkable.